How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in.
Alright guys, welcome to 4.6 Savage. And yes, I do wear glasses now. So, today I wanted to talk about rotors. And I don't have any examples to show you, so we're going to use pictures, and I'm actually going to try to edit into this video. So we'll start out with the basic types of rotors and what they have, and we'll go into the different types. I'm not going to reflect on the expensive type of rotors. They have ceramic style rotors that are used on like Mercedes and McLarens. I'm not going to get into those. I don't have enough knowledge. I'm going to go ahead and give a little intro. I am planning on starting a series about stuff like this, like rotors, radiators, stuff like that. I'm also planning on starting a tool review series, and I'm probably going to launch 2 videos, and probably one tonight and probably one tomorrow. See how they do. Like, subscribe, share, let me know. I'm also going to try something new with adding jump points so you can skip intros and get to points. We'll see how that does. A lot of my problem with doing that is I do a lot of everything. Well, I do everything on mobile. I don't do PC at all. Like, all this is recorded on my phone. That's why the camera angle is so shitty and everything. But that's for another topic. Let's go ahead, let's get into it, and let's talk about rotors. So, your first style of rotor is a solid rotor. Now, what that is let's see if I got an example here. This would be a solid rotor. As you can see, there's no holes or anything, or vented. So it's a complete solid unit. So the other type of rotor is a vented rotor, and that has a channel around here, and it has little gaps in between it, and they go all the way through the rotor until it gets to the mounting surface. So the mounting surface is actually strong, and this allows you to have a cooler rotor, being that it's vented. Solid rotors are normally used on the rear. They do use them in front, and sometimes. I can't tell you what vehicles do or don't. I know I've seen some on the front. Very rare, but I've seen some on the front. I've seen a lot of stuff in or out of doing it with the vented rotors. Most cars run vented rotors. There are some cars that still run drum brakes, like the vehicle behind me runs drum in the rear. But when you have 4-wheel disc, typically your rear rotor is solid and your front rotor is vented. The benefits of a vented rotor is it cools down faster to allow more braking. Once you start heating up your rotor and your pads, you create brake fade. Brake fade is caused by a couple of different reasons. Sometimes the pad can't handle the heat, so it breaks down. The other thing that happens is the brake fluid boils. That's the difference between DOT 3 and DOT 4. We'll go over that. I'll have a whole list of specs. So, slotted, vented, they're not slotted, they're vented rotors. They have slots through the portion here, and then the surface is just solid. Now a solid rotor will have this it's solid metal. So I would always prefer vented rotors over solids. Aside from that, a rotor's a rotor basically. You're gonna have more heat with the solid, but it's more durable. But your vent style is less durable, but more less heat. It takes away wear because you're not putting as much heat. The less heat, the less things wear, less friction. I mean, you're still going to have the same amount of friction, but it's not going to create a heat as a byproduct. So we step into the next style of rotor. Solid or vented. Most of the time this is done on vented rotors. They have slots. In the rotor face, you will have a slot. And it'll be a diagonal slot. And what this allows is, there's many different conspiracies between the car community. This is what I believe, and I want to make sure everyone knows this is my opinion. This is what it does. So first thing is, when you have the pad, you have your rotor here, and you have your pads. When your pads contact the rotor and they sit there and try to stop, they create friction. Friction creates heat, and what do you get as a byproduct of that? You get dust from the brakes pads from wearing away, as well as you get gases because you're creating heat. Creating heat creates pressure, yada yada yada. So as you create that heat and that pressure and those gases, the slots come around and they sweep away the dust. So you're contacting new clean rotor material each time. And it also sweeps away the gases and helps vent the gases. The slots aren't deep, and you can also not turn a slotted rotor. I don't know why people think you can turn a slotted rotor, but when you turn a slotted rotor, it takes away the slots. So you take a slotted rotor and turn it into a regular rotor. So now there are some the pros and cons to a slotted rotor are less heat. Again, it cools, it keeps the dust. The wheel's cleaner. It keeps dust out of it. You get better brake performance. That can be in the form of stopping distance or how many times you can panic stop before the car overheat. You get brake fade. So that being said, the cons are it wears your pads more. It cuts the life of your pads. I wouldn't say in half. I don't know an actual estimate. I know it's rougher on the pads because now you've got, instead of a flat surface and the pads contacting a flat surface, it's now going like an edge and just cutting it. So you got a slot where it's cutting it. So you sacrifice pad life for performance. Now some people, I have a couple friends that have argued this with me, and I can't deny what they say, that's why I'm mentioning it. Some of them said they have gotten better pad braking distance, meaning your car takes shorter to stop with a complete stock rotor than a slotted rotor. The reason for that, and the reason why they think that, I do not believe this. I run slotted and drilled rotors, but we'll talk about drilled in a minute. You can get both a slotted, a drilled, or a slotted and drilled. So we'll get into that in a minute. So what I got is, because of the slots, you're removing surface area that the brake pad actually contacts the rotor, which gives you less braking force to the rotor to slow you down quicker. But in that trade-off, you're getting less heat and less actual wear of the rotor versus typical things. You get less brake fade, you get things. Most of the time, the rotors are used on track cars. They also use some people use thinner rotors to dissipate heat more quickly, so you don't get as much brake fade. Of course, you have to replace the rotors very quickly and such and such. So now, this is only going to be about rotors. I'll do another series on pads if y'all like this series. So now we get to drilled. Drilled does the same thing. They're cross-drilled and they have to be drilled a certain way. So before I say drilled and y'all take y'all's Home Depot drill out there and start drilling holes in your rotor, that's not how it works. It has to be a special bit. It has to be tapered. It has to be, there's coatings that have to be put on it. It has to act right. But essentially what you're doing is you're drilling holes into the rotor at a certain angle so that when the rotor, the pad contacts, it's contacting the taper, and it's allowing the dust and the gases to be sucked through the hole. Now that hole goes directly into your vents and vents out the top of the rotor versus the slots, which is drawn past the pad. So your slot will be like here, and then your pad escapes over it as the pad's escaping the gas and the dirt thing. So the benefit is there really is no difference because they both do the same thing. One has to wait until the pad is past it to start venting. Well, the pad has to pass the exit point of the slot in order for it to vent, versus the drilled, which vents 100% of the time. So they basically do the things. Now, if you run what I run, you have the slotted and drilled rotors, which do the same thing. Again, like I said, less surface area, less braking force, yada yada yada. I run these on all my cars, and I can even show you right now. We'll go ahead and so this is my wife's car, and these are slotted and drilled rotors. As you can see, there is a slot, there is the rotor, and the drills, and they have little tapers in them. So as you can see, they have tapers and they're drilled in an angle. And there's 4 or 5 holes and then a slot, and then 4 or 5 holes and then a slot, and so on. This is so, like I said, the gas escapes. The gas escaping, it allows you to, with the gas escaping, it allows you to cool your brake rotor faster, which keeps heat, which keeps. The biggest thing they're used for is rotor warpage. So when your rotors get too hot, they warp. That's why when you stop, you get a pedal. You'll notice that coming off the highway, anything like that. And sometimes you gotta sit there and you gotta figure it out. Sometimes it can be steering components, you know. But if it only happens when you brake, 99% of the time, it's a problem with the brakes. So I'll show pictures of a vented, and I'll show the picture right here. Solid. And we'll do the slotted, the drilled, and then the slotted and drilled. And I'm going to show you pictures, and I'm going to give the benefits. Most brands sell things like, I don't think you can get slotted and drilled rotors from like AutoZone. I use Detroit axle. I use eBay parts. I have always used eBay parts for my brake kits. I have never had an issue. They come with ceramic pads. They run slotted drill rotors, everything. I have never had an issue with fitment, unless I ordered the product wrong. There are some vehicles, i.e. a certain Camry, black Camry that I used to have, that I put slotted and drill rotors on, and it turns out I ordered the 14-inch rotor kit instead of the 15-inch. 15 and 14 referring to the tire size. And this allowed me to buy the wrong kit. And the pads were a millimeter too short. They still worked, but they would clank in the channels because they were too short. Of course, you know, my stupid self ran it, because what else am I going to do? I'm not waiting another 2.5 weeks for a brake kit. That's not how long it took. It's just, that was the number I pulled out of my ass. So let me know what you guys think about this. Remember, like, subscribe, make sure you share, and if you like my videos, please check out my Facebook page, which is listed here. Check out my Instagram, which is listed here. and make sure you check out our merch store. And remember, be savage.